Hello and welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about some of the health issues that I was dealing with over the past couple of years and some of the key changes that I made to my life and more specifically my diet over the past 4 months that have drastically changed my life, just to say the least. I've not only gotten rid of several of the health issues I was dealing with, but also mitigated several of the others, and I'm seeing improvements all the time. Now, normally I wouldn't talk about this kind of stuff because it's pretty personal. I don't like to get too personal, or at least I haven't in the past. But I'm trying to change that a little bit. I'm trying to let you guys in on some of the things that have really helped me. Again, these are things that have helped me. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to help everybody, even though I do think that a lot of these things could help most people. However, I'm just going to touch on some of the issues that I was dealing with. And if any of these sound relatively familiar to anything that you're dealing with, let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of the things that I've tried, and or if you're willing to. And what I'll do is I'll also put some resources in the description, just some broad resources. I'm going to touch on more in other videos coming up here in the future on more specifics. But let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So right off the bat, 5 things that I was dealing with, 5 of the major things that I was dealing with health-wise that really started to, I don't want to say spiral out of control, but it got really bad. And I wasn't in I don't know if my life was at risk or anything, but they were really affecting my day-to-day productivity, my overall mental health, and just everything. So to start, one, I was dealing with a lot of back pain. And this can be caused by a lot of different things. I did kind of injure my neck several years ago. But more importantly, I would get this pain in my sides and my lower back. I later came to find out, after it happened a lot over the past few years, that I think it was my kidneys. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. And that's gotten a lot better. One other thing too is, and this was a big one for me, is my gut health. And this might be a little TMI, so if you want to fast forward like 30 seconds here, go for it. But I was going to the bathroom like several times a day, and it wasn't pretty. I was constipated, or had diarrhea, or I had really bad bloating, and I had stomach cramps all the time. There were times where I'd get like really bad acid reflux, and just a lot of pain in my stomach and my bowels, and I was never diagnosed or anything with like Crohn's or autoimmune disease. I didn't have anything that serious. I know a lot of people do. But that was a big one for me for many years. I tried so many different things, especially within my diet, that just didn't really work, and some would make things worse, and it was always a thing for me. That was a really big one, and since then I've had pretty much no issues with my gut health for the last several weeks now. I think it's been almost 3 months now, and I'll get into why here in a little bit. Another big thing for me was my mental health. And I can't stress how this is one of the biggest things that helped me. This is one of the most important things, or one of the biggest issues I was dealing with. I had a lot of anxiety, depression, very little motivation. And this is something I always have battled, and it's just kind of gotten a little bit worse as I gotten older. I've always been able to manage it, but there were just days and kind of swings of things where it just wasn't good. And it's hard to be productive when you're not motivated. And so what I've noticed is my mental health has completely done a 180, and I'm still improving on it. I still have a lot of room to grow in getting better with my mental health. But this is one of the main reasons I'm still doing the things I'm doing with my health, and I didn't just kind of stop it after a few weeks. My mental health was a big part of that. And I think kind of leading into the caveat, and the next thing was my sleep. And I think sleep can really impact mental health. I think a lot of things can, but when you're not sleeping well and you're tired all day, and then you're not sleeping well at night, your rhythm's all off, I think that really does impact mental health. At least it did for me. And my sleep has gotten crazy better. Like, I actually get tired now at night like normal people, and I can actually sleep at night like normal, a lot of people, I guess. And surprisingly enough, I used to be one of the biggest coffee drinkers ever, and I only have coffee a couple days a week now, and that's really just because I use it as a way to like get really energized for a meeting or something at work now. It's not really something I need to be awake. Actually, I feel better not drinking it, which is I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. And so one of the last things I was dealing with too, and this is something I haven't told really anybody this stuff, but when I would brush my teeth, for example, I would get, over the last couple of years, my gums would start to bleed. And I never, got like diagnosed with gingivitis or anything, but, I noticed kind of like my oral health was kind of declining, and, I brushed my teeth, and I was never one to drink a lot of like soda or things like that. And I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I did like 10 years ago, but that's all I'll pass now. But what's been crazy is all of my gum health has just done a 180 as well. Like my gums don't bleed anymore. My mouth feels great. And it's just been mostly due to what I've been eating. And so those are some of the main things that I was dealing with over the past several years. And it's just kind of gotten worse over the last few. I've been kind of really searching for things to help, right? I'm not one to like take a lot of different medications and surgeries. And I've been very adverse to that stuff, and I've always been one to try to explore other options and things that I can do with my own health that can improve those things. I recently kind of discovered like an idea that really kind of changed my perspective on human health, and that is we humans in general we're born healthy. We're born to thrive, naturally. I mean, this is what gets the species through human history. It's like our default state is health and thriving, and you have to do stuff to knock that out of place. Now there's obviously exceptions, and the people come down with certain genetic things, and there's diseases and things like that, but I think a lot of it is self-induced, to be quite honest, because there were people thousands of years ago and they're thriving. Their health was amazing, right? And they weren't getting a lot of the diseases and sicknesses that we were getting today. And so once I kind of thought that, common sense, it made sense to me, and I started exploring that option. So what are the things that I've really done to kind of help? Now I'll start with some of I'll get into diet here a second, but I'll start with a couple of routine things that have helped me. One thing that's really helped me with my sleep is making sure I get sunlight in the morning. Now I've heard a lot of other people talk about this on podcasts and things like that, but I've made it kind of a point to when I wake up, I don't do it instantly like I probably should, but I within like the first 30 minutes, I'm usually going outside and trying to get direct sunlight in my eyes. Now don't go stare into the sun, because that could probably damage your eyes, but allow sun to be hitting your eyes from the side, or just be out in sunlight and walk around for, I'd say at least 5 to 10 minutes. I try to do it at least 5 minutes every day. Even if it's a cloudy day, you're still going to get some of that light in your eyes, and that's really helped me, like with my sleep. It's helped wake me up, and I've stopped really drinking coffee a lot, and I've noticed I can just wake up and be awake by just doing stuff simply like that. Now this stuff takes time. It did take me several weeks to kind of adjust my body into feeling better, but it was actually really quick. I mean, within the first 2 weeks, I started noticing improvements. But that was a big one. That was a routine thing for me, is waking up, getting sunlight. And if I was going to drink coffee, I always wait 2 hours after I wake up to put any caffeine in my body. That is another thing that has really improved my day. So those are just little tips that have really just made a huge impact on like my overall tiredness and alertness and awakeness during the day, and not crashing all the time. I still love my coffee, but I notice how it doesn't make me feel that great when I do drink it. So I guess that's partly diet. So let's get into some of the main diet stuff. Now you've probably heard of this before, and it's kind of all the rage nowadays. But I've really been exploring this. I spent dozens of hours looking into this stuff now, and I'm not an expert by any means, but a lot of it has made sense, and it was worth a try. And so what I've been doing is essentially the carnivore diet. I started off the first couple of weeks of changing my diet. It was more keto. I've never been a big vegetable guy. I've never eaten a lot of vegetables, things like that. But I ate a lot of fruit, ate a lot of grains. I ate a lot of rice, love bread, pastas, ate a lot of that stuff. So I decided, I found some really great resources. Again, I'll link their channels below. Dr. Anthony Chafee, Sean Baker, Ken Berry, all doctors, and Paul Saladino, some of these guys, and they have varying opinions on some of this stuff, but there's a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of common sense involved in some of this stuff. And I'm not going to go in the weeds on some of this. I'll do that in later videos, because this one is probably going to be a little bit longer to begin with. But that was what I decided to do. I was like, first I'm going to go keto. I'm basically going to try to get in ketosis, right? And I've changed my mind on some of these things, but that was kind of the idea. It's like, all right, it's elimination diet. Let's just eliminate all the things that I'm eating and see how I feel, and go back to eating animals, right? from my opinion, it's a proper human diet. For all of human history, people were eating animals, right? 99% of plants will kill you. If you go out and start eating anything in the woods, it's probably going to kill you or make you very sick. Most animals you can eat. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, you can eat most animals. And for all of human history up until recently, people had animals as like their primary source. And these were some of the healthiest people on earth, the more animals they ate. And so I think there's a direct correlation between eating animal tissue and trying to put on animal tissue, which is what you're doing with muscle and fat and things like that. And so I decided, well, I like steak. I'm a hunter, so I like venison and animal products. And so I decided to just try to eat ruminant meats and eggs. And I was incorporating some other things at the time. I had some like protein powders and milk and things like that. And I was, still get bloated and all these things. But once I decided to completely cut everything out that wasn't an animal product, essentially, I started noticing crazy differences, right? Again, my gut health was a big one for me too. Once I got rid of all the fiber and all the plants and all that stuff, my gut health changed completely. Like I actually go to the bathroom a normal amount, like once a day, once every other day, right? If I'm drinking a lot of coffee and stuff like that, sometimes it's a couple times in a day because coffee's a laxative. But it's just so much improved. I don't get the pains in my stomach anymore, all those things. And my back pain went away. Now let's talk about that for a second because this was really interesting to me. And I'm not like fully 100% like sure on what it was, but I'm pretty sure I think I know what it was. And if you know more on these kinds of things, you can be sure to let me know because I'm so curious about this. But I would get these like really bad pains, and it was my kidneys, right? And I actually went to the hospital one time for it, and they couldn't tell me anything about it. They didn't know what was wrong. And so what I ended up, kind of correlating, after months of really thinking about this, is that whenever I would get this really bad kidney pain, for what I thought was kidney pain, was I was eating a lot of almonds. I love almonds. And I would get a big bag of almonds, and I would just snack on almonds. Sometimes I wouldn't even eat a meal until like dinner time, and I would just eat almonds all day. I was eating a lot of almonds. And I look at it, I'm like, all those times my back hurt like that, I was eating all these almonds. Now, I don't 100% know if it was the almonds. I've never like tested this directly. But I do know, after looking into this more, almonds do have a lot of oxalates and toxins in them. And at the end of the day, plants don't want you to eat them. I mean, they really don't. Like in very rare cases of some fruits, but plants are living things and they want to survive. They have defense chemicals in them because they can't run away like animals can. So if plants didn't try to defend themselves, there wouldn't be any plants on this earth. All animals would just devour them. So there's a symbiotic relationship with certain animals and certain plants, and if you go out of that relationship, people get sick. And this is just in the animal world, animals get sick if they don't eat within their proper diet. And so it got me thinking, an almond's a seed. A seed is essentially the baby of the plant. They don't want that to be eaten. A lot of seeds are kind of the concentrated version of all the toxins in a plant because that's what they put them. They don't want them to be eaten. They want you to eat it and not chew the seed and like poop it out later and go germinate it somewhere. That's different. But if you start chewing the seeds, a lot of these toxins are released. Anyways, I kind of went down an almond rabbit hole and started looking into this stuff. And some nuts can be very dangerous. For example, almonds, if you don't roast them, if they're unroasted and raw almonds, if you eat just less than 10 of those, you can die like pretty easily. They're super toxic if they're not roasted. And there's a lot of plants like this. And so I was like, okay, this makes just kind of common sense. If you're a human and you're starving and you're dying, you might eat some plants to survive that are safe. But for the most part, people are eating animals. And so I was like, all right, let's do that. Let's just eat animals. And so that's what I started doing is just eating animals. I pretty much ate eggs and steak or chuck roast. I eat a lot of chuck roast because it's cheap, right? So cheap cuts of meats. Ground beef too. I'm not a huge ground beef guy. I can eat it, but like I prefer other cuts that are about the same price, and I can cook them differently. But just eating a lot of red meat, ruminant meat, and I'll go into the difference between like some of the ruminant animals and some of the other animals and how some are better than others. But I do think overall animal products, eating animals are the proper way humans should eat, right? At least from what I've seen so far, right? That should be the primary source of your calories come from animal fats and animal proteins. I think those are the most bioavailable things that the body can take in. And I wouldn't be saying any of this if my health didn't drastically change. I want to be very clear on that. I'm not here to tell people what they should eat, how they should live their life. You go do whatever you want to do. But I couldn't even help but tell like my parents about it. Like, hey, I feel so much better. These issues, these health issues that I've been dealing with for over 10 years, some of them have all but gone, they've just pretty much gone away. Like, not all but gone away, but they've gone away. Most of them have almost all gone away. And that is life-changing for me. And I know that there are other people out there who have had similar success with changing how they eat and what they put in their body. And I just wanted to talk about it because these issues that I was dealing with really did affect my YouTube channel in the past. Especially with the mental health, a lot of the back pain, that kind of stuff really did affect it. And, again, mental health is a big one because the motivation, just, you're not feeling good all the time when you're always tired. You just want to have motivation to even make YouTube videos. That has changed completely, 180 for me. And it couldn't be more of a blessing. And so if I can share this with anybody and they have, some inkling of interest and it helps them and they change a couple things, then that's amazing. Honestly it is. So I want to go more in depth on some of these like key things and kind of reference some of the people that I've been listening to and talking to and, going into the science on some of this stuff on future videos. But I just wanted to kind of talk about, again, some of the key changes that I've made over the last several months. So pretty much my day to day is I usually eat 2 meals a day, right? I eat almost, about 2 pounds of beef a day, around there, give or take, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. And I usually try to have seafood in the form of some sort of shellfish like scallops or shrimp or a lobster tail if it's on sale, like really cheap, a few times a week, like 3 times a week. And I usually do that for the iodine content. And it's just that. And then sometimes I'll eat eggs too. There's some days where I'll eat like 6 or 8 eggs and I get them from a local farm. I think it's important to get eggs from a local farm because the bad stuff in them can be, different. We'll get into that in a different video. But yeah, so it's pretty much animals. It's red meat, ruminant animals. If I have venison, I'll eat that too. And yeah, beef, eggs, a lot of beef fat, and different cuts and different things like that. So it's very simple. It might seem very boring, but I don't care if it's boring. It's changed a lot for me. I'm sure people out there who know who Jordan Peterson is, he does the same kind of thing. It's like a lion diet where he pretty much just eats red meat and salt. It's a lot of what I eat. I don't put pepper or any other seasonings on my steak. I did in the beginning when I was making the transition, but over time you start to realize like actually these seasonings aren't really pleasant to me. Like it's weird, your body kind of transitions and it knows what it wants. I eat steak most nights and I never get sick of eating steak most nights. I really don't. Right? I still get cravings here and there for bread and stuff like that, but I'm still early in this transition, but I feel amazing. Like I feel amazing and I can't express that enough. So I wanted to touch on that. I'm going to touch on some other things in the future videos, some of these changes that I've made more in depth, some of the science behind some of the stuff I'm going to reference and maybe we can react and play some clips of some of the people that I've been listening to and to kind of talk about their thoughts on some things because there's some different opinions in this space. And then I also, little side thing too, I plan on also getting back into the gym. Like I've done that a little bit over the last few months and I'm a big believer in exercise and I exercise a little bit here and there, but I want to start taking it more seriously because I think that's the next step for me. I think it's really hard to go to the gym every day when you feel like crap all the time. It really is. And I think that's a big thing. And when you start to change how you feel, like what you're putting in your body and your overall health, it makes it a lot easier to get into the gym and start taking even more care of yourself. So that's kind of the next journey I'm on, is really hitting the gym and making those improvements in myself. And we'll bring you along for the ride. So I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to my story. I know it was long, probably boring for a lot of you, but if there's any of these issues that you've dealt with or you are dealing with, it is worth looking into some of these things. And again, I'll touch on it in other videos. I'll link some of the key resources in the description below of some of the channels that I've been really following and looking into that could be really great resources for you as well. So if you enjoyed this, I would really appreciate a like. Share this with somebody if you think it might be beneficial. And we'll talk soon. All right. Peace, love. We'll catch you later. Bye.